I think we just have to learn how to stop abusing power as,
Yeah.
and this also even ties into the issues that we have in Nigeria, right? With
Yeah.
SARS, right? Because at the core of it, it's literally all just black men abusing power, which is
Yeah.
kind of like, you know, I guess your colonial masters take away all this power from you, then you get a piece of that crumb, and you start to feel it, and it's kind of like you overdose,
Yeah.
and you start to basically treat people like less than subhuman, you know?
Yeah, people that don't know what SARS is, SARS stands for Special Anti-Robbery Squad, and it's a part of the Nigerian police force. It was founded out of many special police forces just to combat the rise of violent crimes that were taking place in Nigeria in the 1990s. But across, or for many Nigerians, they feel like the SARS unit particularly have started to mirror basically the groups that they were set to stop. And we've had this End SARS campaign, which I feel like has been trending for a while now. And that kind of started when there was a viral video that went across with the SARS units taking 2 males from a Lagos hotel and shooting one of them in the streets. And that sparked an outrage for a lot of Nigerians and young Nigerians to come forward and tell their stories about the encounters they have had either personally or with like knowing someone that has either suffered at the hands of police brutality in Nigeria. And when you do your research or when you see it, you basically see that the SARS people, they tend to target Nigerian youth, and Nigerian youth who either have smartphones, wear dreadlocks, piercings, drive nice cars, just look good or look modern, and they either exploit them, they kidnap them, they extort money from them and their families, and in some cases they murder them. And this isn't something that's happened now, it's something that's been ingrained throughout, and they've tried, people have expressed their plight, they've expressed their need and their desire for reform, and the Nigerian government just don't seem to be doing anything about it. So when that video went viral again, people were just like, enough is enough. You guys aren't leading the country forward. You're celebrating different things that don't make any sense. We are 6 years old now, yeah, which is relatively young, I get, in the grand scheme of things. However, with everything that we do have, we should have progressed a lot further, and you're not even trying to protect and look after the youth. Like, the youth is the future. Like, we are the future of Nigeria. And yes, you want to be in governance at your older age, but that's not forward thinking. And people are just really angry. Protests have gone out, celebrities, public figures have joined, a lot of people have been interested in it, and it's just really sad to see that, yes, it's an exploitation of power, but not only is it an exploitation of power, is in a lack of accountability to that exploitation of power.
I would hate to sound like a pessimist, but I will.
Yeah.
But I feel like the fact that in those black and white pictures, right, and the videos of African countries getting independence,
Yeah.
the fact that you can still see the people that are currently running the government in those pictures and those videos in the back that's the first part of our problem. That's like that's at that point is just Imagine George Washington years later, after doing everything he did for America, popping up at debates or popping up trying to run the country again. It's just you said what?
I said it's backwards.
Yeah, it's backwards. It's complete madness. It's like you can't have all these people still being at the top and you're the one still running, even when you can barely speak.
They struggle to pass the lantern on. They struggle to get off that mantle and pass it on, because it's like maybe they're just used to the comfort of being in that safe space, but they don't understand that to be in a position of leadership, there is a level of selflessness that's required for your country to move forward, and for the legacy that you have within that time that you are reigning there to be something that should be spoken of in good light after you've gone, and they're really just holding on and holding on and holding on, and it's like the world is moving forward without us, and they ain't trying to see that because they're so used to that comfort. I really wish I could go in and be like, oh God, Buhari, oh God, Minister, oh God, Kilote, what's
Oh
going
no,
on?
there's been people that have done that. There's been a ton of like young people like ourselves who like use social media, and they go to these meetings and these debates, and they talk. I remember there was this one lady it was like a little viral clip that went viral in Nigeria, and she took off, I don't think she took off her hat, and she was just so pissed, and she had like a bald cut, and they turned off her mic and said, who is this bald? Take your head out of here. And then she lost it. She completely lost it. At this point, she's like done, and I think she was British too. She goes off and says, this is just insulting. The fact that somebody asking people questions, and when you have no answer to the question, you turn off the mic. This is embarrassing. She calls them out. She's screaming. She's going crazy. Of course, they flip it and say, this is a disrespectful, wild woman from the West. That was the narrative they hit her with.
Yeah. I mean, it sucks to say, but I think it's hard because, like, I mean, I said it on Instagram. I feel like police and law enforcement is like the biggest gang in the world because they're just allowed to act how they want to act. And like you said, there's nobody holding them accountable. And I feel like, and I'm obviously very on the radical, and I feel like nothing will change, especially in Africa, until people, and it sucks to say it, until more lives are lost and until we're overthrowing these, you know,
You're in a safe place, Claire.
Until people are like ready to overthrow the government, people are gonna have to die. People are gonna have to be uncomfortable. But no, I mean, it's just like these old men are not willing to like let go. And then I was just reading an article about like the nepotism of Africa and how that'll also be the downfall because, you know, then they finally die and they hand the power down to their sons who have now been primed on the same, you know, principles and the same leadership styles, and it just becomes like a tumultuous kind of like,
yeah. And unfortunately, a lot of their sons are rappers and singers now, so no personal shots. A lot of their sons are creatives, and you know, and the thing is, eventually it's gonna show, right? Because either you turn those creatives, I put it loosely, into those government officials, or the positions are left empty, and then we all have to answer to what was happening to the funds and what was happening to that position. Because at the end of the day, it's like the private schools here are packed with their kids.
Yeah.
Every time, if you do a check, for everybody's kids,
go to Google,
from here all the way down to Kenya. If you do the checkup for all their kids, it's here. It's between here and London. So if all of your kids are being educated on this side of the planet, right, flipping their identity and coming back as something else, many of them run charities. Many of them are creators, quote unquote. Many of them are.
The creative shade is too much.
The shade.
I'm just saying. Many of them are sponsoring projects, but this is where it now starts to turn evil into like the gray area, right? Because what one would say is, but this person has a charity, right? Everybody literally wants to Africa beautiful, Africa great, but you're part of the people, your friends, you're buddy with the people that are robbing it, and then you know you want to flip that like, man, we could.
It goes deep. It goes real deep.
There's so many layers to it,
yeah.
And sometimes there is this complex that I feel personally, maybe you guys can identify with, but the fact that I'm in the diaspora, the fact that I do not live in Nigeria, I've never lived in Nigeria, so I'm not there to feel it. And I feel like from their perspective, they'll be like, you're privileged anyway, like you have access to all of these things. So it's like,
you made it out.
We made it out, and it's like, can we really speak on it? And even if we speak on it, we don't really get it because we haven't experienced it. So I always have this complex, like I can be like, no, this is not right, but then they'll be like, it's just the way. It's just the way. You just have to be sharp. You just have to be. It's just the way it is. And I'm like, this is not the way. It's like, oh, take that Western thing elsewhere. And it's a shame that they don't. It's like it's become such a thing where it's just like, it is what it is. Like, things really won't change, and they even lose all hope, and we're trying to say it, but we can't really say anything because we're not there, we don't live it. So it's like, how do we break that barrier? How do we actually affect the change that we want to see? How do we actually do things? I'm like, oh, do we go back? And if we go back, the people that are leading, the people that have the corruption mind set up, we still won't. They'll be like, you're speaking too much English, I don't understand your accent. Maybe
That's what I'm saying. They told the woman, take your bald gorimapa, take your English, get off the stage. They turn off her mic.
Yeah.
It's not. There's no point. I feel like literally it has to be by force. The same way they came in, that's the same way they have to be taken out.
Yeah, and I'm happy you said that, because that's the same way I feel about, when I speak on like Kenyan matters, because my Swahili is very, very beginner. I don't really, like, I can understand, but I can't really speak it so well. So when I'm thinking, like when my cousins are telling me something's going on, I'm like, okay, well, just go and, go to the member of parliament, speak there. They're like, oh no, that's not how it is here. You know what I'm saying? And so for us, it's like, we're very privileged, but then I don't want to like overstep, but then I still like, I know when something is not right. And that's kind of when I realized, like, people at home, like, I think the verbiage of depression, I had never really had really like experienced until I went to college. And that's when I was surrounded by Black Americans. My friends were like, oh, I've been dealing with depression. And after, discussing with them and kind of talking about their symptoms and how it's kind of been something that their family has suffered from for like, generationally, I was like, oh, wow, people in Africa definitely sometimes live in like a state of depression and a state of defeat. And it's a privilege to like even be conscious to that, to be like, to know to have the language and then to be able to like break out of that. And so I think, you touched on it in the interview, like for us, I think our role is just to continue educating ourselves and to continue spreading knowledge. And, hopefully with knowledge comes change from here, which can obviously like, transform how things happen on the continent.
Yeah.
No,
it's a shame. But we are with you though. We support everybody. If anybody's watching this from back home, like, we are with you. We are educating ourselves. We are supporting the end SARS, ending police brutality, and for you guys to have a voice and be able to be modern. Like, having a laptop is really not a crime. Having an iPhone is not a crime. Like, it's really not. And you should continue to fight this fight because it is necessary for change to happen. So we are with you here at Cultured Unfiltered.
That part right there.
Why did I smile like that? That's just not revolutionary.
Not the next ever.